First, we need to understand what it is we are trying to protect. And for over a decade now, we have invested in a very robust inventory and monitoring system throughout the national park system that we call our vital signs network. The vital signs in parks are analogous to the vital signs in our body, our blood, the heart, the skin, and the brain. Our monitoring of that network, of the health of the system, of keystone species and natural processes, has given us great insights into the state of our parks. When the oil came ashore, this is a cleanup crew in Gulf Islands National Seashore, we had already a decade of inventory and monitoring data, not only to understand to what level we need to restore these systems, but also to which damage was occurred, and we can seek restitution from the oil company. The second major effort is the restoration of ecosystems. As Harvey talked about, you here in Europe have an extraordinary opportunity with restoration, and we too have that same in the United States with systems that we've messed up, frankly, over the years. The Everglades National Park being a perfect example. This year, we allocated funding to elevate this highway to allow the water you see on the north side to move naturally to the south side. And we expect to do another 5 miles of this highway to allow this water flow. We are also removing dams on rivers that have been built over the years. This is a dam on the Elwha River in Olympic National Park that is blocking 70 miles of pristine river habitat for 5 species of Pacific salmon. This dam has stood for over 100 years and blocked the fish return. Now there are only about 5,000 fish that are coming into the lower 5 miles. But once this dam is removed and a lower dam below it, within 10 years we expect to have 100,000 fish spawning in this river. The great Chinook salmon are key to the lower Elwha tribe, who believe this is their birthplace, and the salmon are essential to their lifeway, and they have been there for thousands of years. At one time, these great Chinook salmon grew to over 100 pounds, and fortunately, we have been able to preserve the genetics of these species and expect this species to return in a very robust way. We are demonstrating that restoration efforts stimulate the local economy, and we've spent over $300 million in this particular project. But it also provides hope. It provides hope for the planet, it provides hope for the future, and particularly it provides hope for our kids. The third notable effort is that we have established a system of landscape conservation cooperatives across the United States, drawn upon the ecosystem boundaries. Unfortunately, we show Canada and Mexico as big white spaces, but actually we are drawing these boundaries in those ways as well, bringing local governments, agriculture, refuges, national parks, and the public together to work within an ecosystem framework. We know that there are critical gaps in these ecosystems. If you'll look at this slide, this is the home range of the mountain lion in the Santa Monica Mountains of Southern California. And you can see it is blocked by this Interstate 118, and that underpass is the only way that the lion can move from its southern range to northern range. That large city element to the right is Los Angeles, and yet we're able to retain viable populations by preserving these critical corridors. For really the first time in our history, we are committing to find ways to protect those critical connections. Our Secretary of Interior and our Secretary of Agriculture are now working with Congress to fully fund the Land and Water Conservation Fund at $900 million a year for land acquisition. But for the first time, we are going to use that acquisition money in a strategic, critical way on the landscape to create connectivity within these landscape-level frameworks. The thing that we have particularly to learn from the parks here in Europe is how to work with people still on the land in order to preserve their use as well as conservation at the same time. Last but not least, we have a responsibility to play a role in education. I read someone recently called us Homo sapiens urbanus, the city dweller. removed from the great outdoors, disconnected from nature, fearful of the dark and the quiet, dependent upon a high-speed internet to identify the squirrel. They are unaware that there are even stars in the sky. Reconnecting him to nature and all it has to offer is truly a challenge. One of the challenges I had when I was the superintendent of Mount Rainier was to convince the public that this great mountain that looms over Seattle is actually an active volcano and not an extinct volcano. And by making that change, we connected people to their personal lives in this extraordinary environment. Education and making parks relevant to the public is essential to our long-term viability. We in the family of parks and protected areas are an education institution, crucial to the understanding of the natural world. I recently established the first position in Washington, my directorate, as devoted to interpretation and education through our national parks. Not only in the parks themselves, but in the classrooms as well across the country by sending our rangers, me in this case, and then also through the power of the internet. We've established a program of teacher-ranger teachers where school teachers spend their summers as rangers, building curriculum and then going back to the classroom and teaching it. Our Biodiversity Discovery Initiative brings volunteers into the parks to do science and then to bring it back to the classroom as well. There are international volunteers programs. Students and conservation professionals throughout other countries are coming to the United States to work in our protected areas anywhere from a month to a full year. And they receive practical training in wildlife management, GIS, mapping, and especially in education. As these threats of climate change really become global, these volunteers, and we are going to increase that across the planet, form a cadre of young scientists and park managers and professionals that will really lead us into the future. In the words of Horace Albright, former director, actually our second director, he said that we in the National Park Service are the faculty of the biggest school of nature study on Earth. I've also set the standard in the national park system to be an exemplar in sustainability. All of our new buildings will meet the green design standard of LEED certification, this facility being a platinum design, where this is at Lassen Volcanic National Park, where you can not only learn about the plumbing of the mountain, but you can learn about the plumbing in the floor, both of them being geothermal. We are relighting our national parks to restore the night sky. We are acquiring hybrid vehicles, and we're using large solar arrays within our parks and composting systems for our food operations. And the key to this is not only to do it, but to talk about it, to use it as an education opportunity to raise the awareness of the visiting public so that they can take actions themselves as well. Education will be critical to our efforts to maintain biodiversity of this planet, and we as stewards of protected areas have an incredible responsibility to do that as well. We in the U.S. are also re-examining the way we talk about history. For instance, the Civil War. For many, many years we talked only about strategy and tactics, but now we are talking about the social, the political, and the economic causes of civil war, such as slavery. Controversial as it may be, we feel that this is our responsibility. A similar shift should happen in our national parks, where we not only use them as laboratories, but also as classrooms to talk about climate change. The American narrative is embedded in the land, and we need to use that opportunity just as you do here in Europe. I recently met a visitor who told me that after many visits to parks, he has come to trust the word of the park ranger more than any other individual, even his rabbi. In an atmosphere where government is often viewed with cynicism and with distrust, we have a great privilege of being the good guys. According to a Greek proverb, a society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never sit in. We in the protected areas world are in the perpetuity business. We care for these places not for the short term, but forever. We not only plant trees that will shade our children, we are planting the seeds of societal awakening, an awakening to the challenges of climate change, an awakening to the optimism of nature restored, a nature from which we may draw renewal and inspiration. Thank you.